as the USC campus shifts from one that, one that's sort of dominated by Trojan housing to one that's one that involves more, independent developers and buyers coming in, how do you think that stands to sort of change the campus dynamic and campus life? And how does, and how do you think Westar can contribute to the enhancement of that campus life?
Well, first of all, I think that right now, I would disagree that it's dominated by USC housing, because there's a huge imbalance of beds. So right now, USC has, I think, around 3,000 beds in dorms, another 3,600 beds in off-campus apartments, which USC owns. And that's not the majority. The majority is by private landlords. The fact that our involvement with SC is that USC doesn't own the property to make a profit on it. They're concerned about having enough housing to house students, and they're concerned that it's quality housing and it's run, in an ethical, professional manner. So our association with SC is the Tuscany building, which is 120 units, 256 bedrooms, probably about 400 or 500 beds, and 6 others that we bought over by Shrine Place, which is another 225 beds, will be managed by SC. The real key is to create enough supply so that private landlords have to compete and get better service and better pricing, and that's what I think SC is primarily interested in, and we're certainly interested in, as long as we do quality product, competing, to get as many students in here, and we're not going to be able to do that if we don't give them better service and better price.
Right. In general, what do you think are the key differences between developing in an area that's near a campus where the people renting are students, and just sort of a general sort of area that's more residential? In other words, what are the key differences in strategy that you take when you're catering to a student populace?
I think in any market, it's supply and demand. That's the big picture comes first. If you're in Westwood, the demographics over there are higher income and so on. You're near Bel Air and so on. Here it's different, but there's not a lot of room to build new apartments over there. So there's a very tight supply in that market, and there's a very tight supply in this market because you're competing with a lot of local neighborhood people that need housing as well. So I think the real key is proximity to campus is always a key issue. You talk to any student housing developers, that the closer you are to campus, the more you can be associated with campus activities, the higher the demand for that type of product.
Okay, and then you sort of touched on my last question, which is the surrounding community and that sort of element of the picture. When you're developing in an area like this, or when you're buying property in an area like this, are there any, in the back of your mind, are you sort of thinking about, is there that extra thought process about, how is this gonna affect the surrounding community? How is this gonna displace it or offer more housing? I mean, how do you go about sort of thinking about that element of the equation?
Well, it is a very important element, and the way we look at it is we have 3 constituencies. First is the students, and by extension their parents. That's our first customer. The second customer is USC, to make sure that we're in sync with what they're doing, that we're providing things that are in concert with what's important for them. And the third is the local community. And you can't antagonize or displace a lot of people. Harvard had some of the same situations, an inner city school and the like. And so I think what we're concerned about is being able to make sure that we don't infringe and tear down very affordable housing. We work very heavily with local agencies. I'm on Pete Carroll's board for A Better LA. It's very important to us that we work in conjunction with and not at the expense of coming in and tearing down a lot of affordable housing, which displaces a lot of people. And that, again, is consistent with USC's philosophy, because USC is the largest employer in the city of Los Angeles. For years and years, they've reached out to local people in the community, have them working here. So there's a tremendous responsibility to respect all three of those constituencies. And it just takes some work, and it's competition. So we look forward to it, and very excited to be here.